are standing, hearts made of steel. We know the struggle, we know what's real. Ops for vets, we survive the fight. Shoulder to shoulder, we shine.
Hi, welcome to Just the Facts, ma'am.
I've lost you, Tracy. Audio.
Can you hear me okay, Daniel?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Because
I
I can't hear you,
just
Tracy.
fine. I can hear you, Jane. To everyone that's logged on out there, welcome to Just the Facts, ma'am. This is an Ops for Vets TV show. I'm Tracy Lawrence, one of your co-hosts. I'm the president of High Surety and Insurance Services, where we do bonds all day for government construction contractors. So if you know someone that's in the government construction space and they need some solutions and strategies for bonds, I hope you'll think of me. My co-host for the show is Jane Babcock.
Hello,
Jane,
Tracy.
excellent. Will you introduce yourself for the people attending our show tonight?
Certainly. I'm Jane Babcock, retired Army Reserve, 4 DD-214s. I kept going home and they kept calling me back. And then I became a County Veterans Service Officer. I was nationally accredited with 5 of the major organizations. But I filed over 1,200 claims and their surviving families. So now, as a retired person, I do articles, podcasts, one-on-one phone calls. This summer I did my first national training conference, all talking about VA, and everything I do is as a volunteer.
Oh, thank you for joining me again tonight, Jane. It's always a pleasure to get to hang out with you. To everybody out there and joining us virtually, I'd like to encourage you to get in the chat, introduce yourself, tell us where you're logged in from. I'd like to invite you to ask any questions along the way. We've got a great show lined up for you tonight. If you know any veteran or someone that loves and cares for a veteran that is in your phone as a contact, go ahead, send them a text. Send them a text. Tell them to go ahead and log in because we're going to be talking about how to use the VA portal to get things done. And if anybody knows how to do that, it's going to be Jane Babcock. I'd love to, say some hellos and shouts outs along the way. So when you are saying hey in the chat, expect us to say hey back. I got a note from Al saying that he's hoping that Tony's out there. So Tony, if you're there, let us know you're there. So let's get it started, Ms. Jane. What do you want to talk about today?
Well, tonight's topic is the VA portal. It used to be referred to as My Healthy Vet and other things of that nature. It's the idea that we could start getting access to our personal information that's in the VA.
Okay.
And so there's a lot that can be done with it now that wasn't there before. First, we started having access to being able to, set up appointments and maybe view some of our test results. But now that whole thing has expanded greatly. And the benefit side of the house has just literally blown up over the last 2 years. At first, it was just you could file an intent to claim and you could file your forms for your claim, but it's gotten to be so much more. And now they're including all the education benefits. So you can do your monthly check-in to say, yes, I'm still a student. I want to get my check and things like that. But let's talk about each area specifically, and then we'll get into the most recent change, which is how to log in.
Okay, so you want to save the how to log in for the end?
Yep. Let's tell you what you can do with it, kind of wet your whistle and get you encouraged to go through the process of getting a secure login.
I get you.
Yep. Let's tempt them.
What can we do with it?
Well, once you get a VA.gov access through secure logins, which we'll talk about later. But VA.gov is now the platform. It's no longer My Healthy Vet or any of the other older platforms. It is VA.gov. Once you get there, you have access to all your VHA, Veterans Health Administration records. You can look up your appointments that are coming up. You can schedule appointments if your particular VISN or region is making appointments electronically. You can check your pharmacy to see what refills you have coming up. When was the last time you filled a medication? How many refills are on that prescription? Just yesterday, I was down in Milwaukee, so I went up to the window and I said, hey, I have no refills left on these 2 medications. And usually I would just call in and they would go ahead and get an approval from my doc. But because I went there, they just picked up the phone and verified it, and 15 minutes later I had my meds and I was walking out the door.
Nice.
But you can see that information online. So you go to refill a medication, check the other ones to see what their numbers of refills left. If it says 0, hit that button so that the pharmacy has time to go ahead and get that information from the doc, getting the approval for your next refills. You also can send and receive secure messages. I do that all the time with my doc and my other, like my mental health care provider, my cardiologist, my physical therapist. You know, hey, Alex, my knee brace is getting pretty tatty. Can I get a new knee brace? And he just mails it to me. And if you wear hearing aids that still use batteries and stuff, you can just go online and order those batteries. Or if you wear pressure socks, you can do that online. You don't have to sit on the phone anymore, and you don't have to make a special appointment anymore. You can do so many things in the self-service on the healthcare.
This sounds like a big change. Is that a big change?
Oh yeah, it's just little things that they've added in and over the last couple of years to expand the services that you can do for yourself. So you're not having to call in. So you're not having to, the secure messaging has been there for a long time now. Mm-hmm. But it used to be you had to secure message and say, hey, look, I need a new, I need to get this medication refills reauthorized because, and so you could do it that way, but you could save so much time by just checking it online and checking the box to do a refill, and they'll do it for you. Mm-hmm. You also have the ability to get a temporary VIC card, which is your VA health identification card. So say you were on vacation and you realized you left your ID card at home. You could actually go online, print out a temporary one to go to that clinic or hospital in the wherever you're vacationing. So you can do a temporary card. Also, most people don't realize it, but travel pay for appointments is actually part of the healthcare system. So by having my VA.gov website set up, my account, when I'm getting close to getting to the clinic, within usually about 45 minutes, maybe an hour ahead of my appointment, it'll say, are you at the clinic yet? I get to the clinic, I click yes, and then because of my rating, I'm authorized travel pay. So then it says, is this your correct information, mailing address and everything? Is this your correct next of kin information? Yes.
Wow.
Do you want to file a travel claim? I click yes. It verifies, my distance from my house. Did I come in my personal car? Or did somebody else give me a ride? Blah, blah, blah. So I do all that. I go click yes. And within seconds, I get a reply message saying your travel claim has been filed.
Wow.
And usually within 2 to 3 business days, it's in my bank account.
Oh, wow.
So it's a great thing to be able to do that without having to wait till I get home, go on the computer, log in, blah, blah, blah. It all just happens through my phone because I've got my VA.gov set up that way.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, people that are out there in the audience listening to this and maybe having the same reaction I'm having as to, wow, that's That's a pretty cool efficiency right there. If you have not already sent text messages to your fellow veterans and those that care about veterans, you need to go ahead and get that done right now.
Absolutely. It,
Uh, we've only been on the air for 10 minutes and already she's dropping jewels.
well, one of the things for me is I do have some memory issues. Did suffer a head trauma, and had sometimes I forget. I get so busy between life and grandchildren and everything, and then trying to keep track of VA stuff. So usually about 3 days before my appointment, it sends me a message saying, "Don't forget, you have an appointment. Is this still a good time for you? Yes or no?" So you do Y and usually a number, 2-digit number, and then they say, "Oh, okay, she's good to go." "Oh, no, it's not. I need to reschedule." I put N in the number, and then it'll offer to reschedule that appointment for me. So that's nice too, because it also means that it opens up their calendar if they have somebody that needs to get in urgently. It helps not only me, but it helps the next guy.
That we have one or two more bullets in the healthcare section where you mention that we can pay our copay bills if we need to.
Yep.
And we can order medical supplies if we need to.
Yep. Yeah. If you're a person that pays copays, and that copay is only for non-service connected stuff, and only if you're rated at 50% or less, and not receiving VA or pension. So if you're a person receiving VA pension, you should not be paying copays. Okay, so rated less than 50% and only for non-service connected conditions. So if you're paying for something for medication and it was actually caused by your service connected things, you need to file that. It's called a secondary. So if your type 2 diabetic is connected because you're a Vietnam guy or an Agent Orange guy, and your kidneys are giving you problems and you're taking a medication for it, you need to go get that filed, because then it's free. So you can go online and you can see your copays. You can see what ones you owe. If you've gotten behind, you can request, you can do the paperwork, a form online that allows you to request a payment plan. So maybe you only get your medication once every 3 months. Well, maybe you could have your payments 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 instead of everything at 1 month. So there's a great copay system there. And if your financial picture has changed dramatically, you retired, your income went way down, maybe you got divorced or you lost your spouse, maybe you can apply for a waiver of your debt. And again, the system has a point where you can look at that and you can look into and learn about how to send in that waiver and what you need to do to send in that waiver. And you can do it right online.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot more. Some people would think of it as replacing VSOs, but really not, because VSOs are so important when it comes to actually getting your claims right the first time. And unfortunately, this technology is a wonderful thing, but it's not going to help our 87-year-old Korean War veteran who doesn't have the internet and is afraid to touch a computer and doesn't have a smartphone. But all this stuff can be done if you have a smartphone, a tablet, a PC. You're good to, even if you have a flip phone, you can set up the account. And like I said, you're going to get those messages and things like that. So that can help you remember your healthcare needs.
We're always encouraging everybody to get to know their VSO. And we're still encouraging to get to know the VSO that serves your county. You've heard it in the last episode, the episode before that, the one before that, and the one 6 months ago. So I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, I'm sure that the people that tune in every month have already done that. If you want to shout out to a VSO, go ahead and send me a chat. I'll shout out, right? And then for our new viewers, we do encourage you to get to know your veteran service officer.
Yes.
And to
Accredited.
be accredited. Thank you, ma'am. And introduce them to someone in your family that cares for you, so that they will know who to call in the event you need care,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Yep. Someone, VSOs are important into if something happens to the veteran and they suddenly pass away, or even if it's been a long-term illness, that VSO will know that you have family and how to get a hold of them and things like that. So then they can reach out to your survivors and say, hey, when you get that death certificate, come on in and we can do this, this, and this for you. So it's a good thing. The next best thing about the VA portal is that you can do so much about VA disability, compensation, and all the financial things. You can start a claim. You can file that intent. Basically, there's a form for it, so you can do it paper-wise. You can do it with your VSO on their computer and they submit it. You sign it just like at a bank, or you can do it at home. You just had knee surgery and you know you're going to be a couple months of recovery and you know that knee is already service connected. You can go file to get that convalescent temporary 100% because of recovery being over 30 days. You could file that aid and attendance form. They can go into the VA healthcare system and they can see the medical information. So then it's just a matter of making sure the proper forms are complete. So you've done that whole claim. You also have the ability to download documents. And the easy way to do that, a lot of things, you can just take a picture of, like your ID card. When it comes to setting up your logins, part of that has a thing where you take a picture with your phone, your ID, and they use that to do your identification verification. So there's so much more to it, though. Once you've opened a claim or an appeal or a submission of a secondary or, requests for special monthly compensations like aid and attendance, there's a thing called Quick Submit. And that's where you can upload documents. So if you have the ability to scan documents, or if it's just a single document and you're going to just attach it as a PDF or something, or a JPEG from your phone, you can take a picture from your phone and you can do this Quick Submit and bam, it's in the VA. It's not having to be mailed to Janesville, Wisconsin to sit there for a week or two before it gets scanned in. It's already in. You can request decision reviews. A decision review is really, it's something that you can do on your own, but I always recommend you get your advice from your VSO because there are certain types of decision reviews where you need to submit new evidence. If you're not understanding that we're denying you, if you don't read the whole thing, that letter, you may not realize that they need one piece of additional documentation. So, yes, you can ask for that decision to be reviewed, but if you don't submit that one single piece of evidence, you're still going to get a denial. So that's where a VSO comes in. They can give you the best advice on what still needs to go in, or is it simply a clear and unmistakable error on the VA's part, which you very nicely say, basically are walking up behind the radar and saying, slap in the head. Didn't you pay attention? You already have this document.
Can the VSO, does the VSO charge us for that, Jane?
Nope. An accredited VSO literally signs a contract with the VA saying, I will not charge, because they're paid by the county, the state, or the veteran organization to represent you. So they have a paycheck, so they don't charge for services.
Okay, everybody. So if you're going to ask for a review, Jane just recommended that you don't go it alone. You don't have to go it alone. VSOs can, give you some insider info on how to get through that system, and it doesn't cost you anything. Um, and for those of us, the civilians that did not serve, we want you to have every single benefit that is available to you. As we get later in the meeting, I'll talk to you about why that is so important. Jane, give me 1 second. I want to say hello to Tony. Tony did log in. We have someone that has the tag name at Crypto Queen. Loving that. I know, right? Uh, hey, if you're rich, I'm here. I'm available, cousin. I'm available, cousin.
Well, I think they're talking about crypto tech. I used to be a crypto ranger when I was in the Army. That's where I started out at. Yep. So I suspect that that's a person that did electronic repair of the crypto systems.
Well, the person's there. She's logged in, and she says she's happy to be here. We're glad that you're here. I'd like to say hi to Evelina. Thank you so much for logging in, and for those that are spreading the word, we appreciate you. All right, back to reviews and disability filings and things like that, Miss Jane.
Okie doke. So you have the ability to do your review request. You pick your one of three types: no new evidence, here's the new evidence, or I want to go to the board. So then you also have the ability, those are part of the appeals management system. So again, you have the ability to do the things you need to do. You also can change your direct deposit. You're going to move to California and you now have a new bank, or God forbid you get divorced and you need to change accounts. And you can add dependents. You just had a baby. Now you can scan that birth certificate in and get the baby added on. Or maybe your child is turned 18 and they're still in high school. You get the high school form that says they're still enrolled in school until June 7th. You can scan that document or photograph it and submit it so that they stay on as your dependent. And if they're going on to college, you've got their acceptance letter. You can take a picture of that, submit it, and now they'll stay on throughout college.
Mm-hmm.
You also have the opportunity to look at things like grants, apply for grants, adaptive housing grants. You're getting your mobility is service connected, even if it's not service connected. There's a very small grant that you can apply for to do some home adaptation, like put a ramp on, or maybe widen the bathroom door to accommodate your walker. Of course, if it's service connected, the biggest grant, I believe, is $170,000 at this point to do massive changes.
Wow.
So you can submit the paperwork for approval, because you got to get the approval before you go out and sign any paperwork with the contractors. If they start the work before VA gets the approval done, VA won't pay for it.
Oh, you need to say that again, just one more time, just so everybody, hey.
Yes, if VA has not approved your home adaptation or your auto grant yet, do not get the work done, because they will not backdate. You must get the approvals done first. You can also find information about the War Veterans Pension Program. If you're rated 10% and you're only receiving $100 and some a month, and you suddenly lose a spouse or something like that, or you've retired, now you're on one Social Security check, it just might be that wartime veterans pension, if you served during wartime, might be more beneficial. I switched many veterans off of low compensation to pension, especially the year that they lose a spouse, because they get to use that funeral bill as a deduction toward pension. So maybe they're going to go from $100 and some a month to $500 a month for a year. And then at the end of the year, we do the numbers again, and gee whiz, it's better off to go back onto the compensation. And we just switch them back. And that can be done right online nowadays. Your VSO may even say, hey, just log into your thing and the two of us will sit here and do it together. And that way you both know what's going in and what's getting submitted. And again, if you have VA debt, which you really shouldn't through the benefit side of the house, unless it comes to other things that I'm not really familiar with on the benefit side. But you also have VA letters. Once you've got a VA.gov website and you need that letter to say you have 15 preference points for a civil job, there's a letter for that. There's a letter. If you're in my state, we have property tax reimbursement, so our veterans are 100%, or their surviving spouse gets DIC. If you've got a VA.gov website and you're a veteran, you've just learned that you're going to be 100%. You can go online and get that letter to send into the state to get those state benefits. And another letter that says this is how much you receive monthly. And if you're going through a divorce or something, and in your state, not all states do this, but some states do count compensation toward child support, you may have to print out 6 months worth of income information. And you can do that on VA.gov. You don't have to fill out a form, send it in, and wait 3 months. And you can literally have it in just minutes. There's also a verification card. Some stores and restaurants will offer a discount for veteran stuff. And people will say, well, I don't have a VA military ID anymore. And maybe I'm not using VA healthcare because I don't have a service rating and I, quote, make too much according to VA, so I'm not allowed to see the doctors in the VA. But I've got that VA.gov website, and I can print out a card that says I served on federal active duty, and it has been verified. So that's another way of doing that. Or a commissary card. You just made 100% and you haven't had a chance to go get an ID card issued. There is a commissary card that'll show that you're 100% service connected, so then you can go to the commissary. There's a whole laundry list of things that you can print out now, all through your VA.gov website.
Ms. Jane, we have a question in the chat. And I think I may have missed it. It may have been there a little bit. But the question says, can evidence be an X-ray from a hospital? So I'm assuming that was something that we were talking about earlier.
Generally speaking, the VA doesn't really want your X-rays.
Okay.
But whenever you get an X-ray, there's always an X-ray technician or the doctor that writes up the summary. This is the broken bone. Or they did a PET scan and this is the location of a cancer tumor and then when you do the biopsy, there's another summary that says this is what we found. So they usually don't want the X-rays themselves because that's just more inconvenient storage for them.
I understand. So the summary that comes with the X-ray, or that summarizes what the X-ray located, that's one of those items that we get to upload into the system?
Yes. They're looking for the standard 8.5 by 11 type paper forms, whether it's birth certificates, whether it's medical records or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Because obviously, the big thing with VA compensation is any injury or illness caused by or aggravated by military service that's a chronic detractor to the quality of life or impacts employment and has a current diagnosis. So once that diagnosis is made, a broken bone is a broken bone. It's always going to show up on an X-ray. So they just need the summary. And if they really want to investigate how much arthritis you have in your shoulder now, they'll do a new X-ray.
I think he's good. He sent a note back saying, thanks.
Cool. With the VA.gov website, as they transition from VA My Healthy Vet, which was created a couple of years ago and then has been retired, now, you have a lot of opportunities to do things like in education. You can apply for your GI Bill or other VA benefits. Maybe it's Chapter 35 for your children because you're a 100%er or individually unemployable. You can look up the schools that are accredited to use your GI Bills and such at. You can find programs. You can apply for vocational rehabilitation. Veterans Readiness and Employment. They used to call it Vocational Rehab and
Mhm.
Employment. So, new name, same program. You want to go to school and it's your service stuff, you can apply to have the VA send you to school.
And you can do all of that in the system?
Yeah, yep, you can do that in the system, and you can look up the schools that that they work with. You can look up the programs. VRNE will do things like that, like a heavy equipment school, a
Mhm.
technical school that's not a state technical school. They have
Mhm.
to go through a whole different accreditation system, and that program will be on the VA's education part of the VA.gov. So you can look those things up and not have to chase whether or not it's an accredited school. You can request career counseling. You can request employment opportunities through the VRNE program for um, like how to do a business program, did business
Plan?
plan. There you go. And they can help you determine whether or not it's economically viable for you to open up a barber shop in that neighborhood.
Oh, that's good.
If there's 6 other barber shops within half a mile, it might not be such a good idea. But just think, maybe if you open it up over in this neighborhood, just a couple miles away, oh, you're going to be the only barber shop within a 2-mile radius. That's definitely got some business opportunity there for you. So there's a lot they can do with you as far as education and the VRNE program and stuff. And you can do a lot of that right online. We used to have to do it all by paper and mail it down to Milwaukee, and then they had to turn around and scan it, and they would, it
Well,
used to be
when
weeks.
when someone decides that they want to, have some career counseling or some startup business counseling, they go, they place the request, and then they wait for a reply. Someone
Yep.
reaches back out to them through maybe the secure messaging thing.
Well, this is actually, you got to apply first to the Veterans Readiness and Employment.
I
That's
see.
part of that program. So you got
Okay.
to apply to that program first. And they say, yes, we can see where your service-connected disabilities are limiting your job opportunities. So what would you like to do? A veteran that has just gone blind, he needs to go to the voc rehab part of that program and learn how to function on a day-to-day basis as a blind person. But the guy that now has difficulty, I don't know, with the job that he was doing before and wants to go into his own business where he can manufacture something at home in his own garage and sell it, but he needs some funding for it. So now they're going to show you how to apply to the banks and how to write that business plan for the banks and all the other kind of stuff. And they may even help you find some small business loans through the SBA. The Small Business Administration has loans specifically for veterans. And one of the good things about the login system now for VA.gov is that system is also the one that the Small Business Administration uses. So now you're going to be able to go online and do those things. And we'll get into more of that during the login part of this program.
Okay.
Okay, so, boy. But the one thing I wanted to warn you about, the only thing I really feel uncomfortable with about VA.gov is this is not a look at the Veterans Benefits Administration, Claims Administration System. So veterans will say, oh, I'm at stage 3, and it says that there's a deadline that they have to respond to this part of the claims process within the next 7 days. VA doesn't do real well paying to its own deadlines. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to, get that results from the C&P exam that they ordered within X number of days and have that medical opinion with it and stuff. And sometimes the system is slow. So at day 7, they put in, oh, we're going to extend that another 6 days out. Or, oh, I got that report early, so now I've gone to stage 4. And I was thinking I was still sitting on stage 3. So don't count on the system always being precise when it comes to claims processing and deadlines and dates and things. You know, they tell us right now that you can file a claim and it's going to process and be awarded within 100 days. Not likely, unless it's extremely simple.
Okay.
And or you have an expedite reason, you know, you're homeless. Those have to be processed and at least notified within 30 days and within 60 days from start to finish. If they have all the evidence properly, they're supposed to have it awarded. But those are kind of rare that it actually gets done.
All right, we understand. We have to give it some grace.
Yes.
All right,
Exactly.
we can do that. You know, we're gonna keep pushing, but we can give it some grace.
Yeah. That's the only thing I've ever run into that I didn't like about VA.gov is they sometimes make promises that they can't keep. And especially right now with the shutdown process, all those dates have just been blown up.
We do. Evelina, who is Crypto Queen, she identified herself and she said to tell you in particular how nice to see you, Jane. How are you doing? Then we have the question, how are things impacted with the shutdown? And
It's supposed to be that they're not impacting the claims process, but if they're impacting the BSOs who work in the regional offices who are doing a lot of the claims processing, the startup of a claim, that's why VA.gov right now is your best bet to get things done quickly. And I was just down at the regional office yesterday, and the parking lot is full. So the employees are there doing the processing. But there's no new hires going on, and there hasn't been for quite some time. So anybody that left hasn't been replaced. And so this is making it tougher on those who are there. And as a veteran, you can't get into that regional office to say, hey, I've got this new birth certificate, I want to submit it. Well, you can do it at home now.
She clarified a little bit and said she was specifically asking about how it relates to SBA loans and how that shutdown is, changing that.
Yeah, and you can take any government agency and take exactly what I said and apply it to that new agency, that other agency. They're still in the hiring freezes and the locked doors and the other things like that. U.S. Department of Agriculture is the same way. That's why they're making a big thing in the news about how the president wants to pay out our farmers because they haven't received any of their grant money, this money that they would have counted on to purchase the stuff that they need to till into the ground for next year's crop, or even for that matter, getting this year's crop out of the field. So yeah, every aspect of the federal government has been impacted. Look at how many agencies that they fired or laid off people and then had to hire them back real quick. So it's a very bumpy road.
It's definitely a different time. But like we were saying about giving grace, we're going to have to give this a little bit of grace, but keep pushing. Bottom line, just keep pushing, keep
right.
pushing.
But this login system now that the VA is using, a lot of these other agencies use. There's over 50 agencies and or local or state governments that are using these logins as a way for you to go in and submit that report or submit the data that they needed to approve your loan or your other things. So at least then you're in the system, the evidence is all there, and hopefully somebody will see it and say, oh, this one's an easy one, rubber stamp and on it goes. But
I love a good rubber stamp. Come on with it. If I can find a way to make anything I'm working on easier for the person that needs to evaluate it, I am going the extra mile just so I can make it easy for them because a rubber stamp in our favor is a plus because it keeps our things moving.
yep. And as you've heard me in the past, when you're doing a claim for compensation or pension or any of the other benefits, it always helps to put a cover letter on. Unless it's a presumptive illness, you're kind of leading that rater down the road saying, I'm filing for this condition because these events happened in service and this is how it has progressed over the years. And now this is, that 10% ankle is now so bound up with arthritis that I can't bend my ankle at all. And here's the medical records to go with it. They're going, oh, wow, yeah, I can see how that's connected. I know exactly where to look. I used to tab files and medical records and stuff. Look for the pink tabs as related to the knee. Look for the blue tabs related to this. And that way the rater was like, oh, I don't have to read through all 500 pages of medical records. I can just pick the 6 pages that are related to the knee.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Getting down the rater. It's not their fault. Okay. Logging in. That really can be a battle at first. But once you've gotten through that battle, that minefield, you're pretty safe. Up until January, there was 4 different ways. DS Logon, My Healthy Vet, ID Me, I believe, was the last one to come in. Login.gov came in, and then ID Me. Well, they have eliminated My Healthy Vet, and they have eliminated the DS Logon to get into the systems now. But the good thing is ID Me and Login.gov both serve the Social Security, the USDA, the SBA, all these different agencies, and they all serve a lot of local and federal or state governments. So you may be able to look into your state governments. If your veteran is receiving SNAP benefits or Medicaid benefits or something like that because they're not able to go to a VA and things. So you're going to have a lot more access. But at the same time, login.gov, as it implies, is a government program. So it doesn't have the freedoms that ID.me has. ID.me is a contractor. And so they have their own brain bank, which created this system. So when you go to apply, you have to have picture identification. Login.gov currently requires a valid state driver's license or valid state ID. They are in the process of integrating passports, but ID.me has been using passports for a long time. And they can begin your process even if your driver's license is out of date. It's just going to take a little longer to get done. And they can send you down. Login.gov is partnered with the U.S. Post Office, another government agency. So you can actually do, if you have your driver's license you realize is expired, okay, you can actually do all your online information. At the end, you get a barcode that's attached to your particular account. You take that barcode with you down to the post office with your picture ID, with your Social Security card. If you don't have a Social Security card, you can use your discharge document because that's a federal government verification of your Social Security number, even though sometimes they're wrong. Your NGB 22 if you were National Guard. You can even take a bank loan paperwork to show your Social Security number. So you go down to the post office and get your identification verified that way. But in the meantime, your login.gov or your ID.me account are on hold. For ID.me, like I said, they have many more identifying cards that you can take a picture of with your phone and submit online that they can do the verification from than login.gov has right now. But if you happen to not have any of that laundry list, you can go down to some of they partnered with UPS. So login.gov uses US Postal Service. They have less selection of documents that they accept online, but most people live fairly near a post office, and most post offices will do this. Go online, check and see if your post office does it. If not, give them a call. Yes, we do. No, we don't. If they do, they can set up an appointment with you. Don't just walk in, because especially around holidays and right now, walking in, those people are so overwhelmed right now. So set up that appointment, take your documentation in with you, and get that verification done. Once that's done, then you will get your login ID account information to set up your VA.gov.
And the need to go to the post office, is that for everyone trying to get in, trying to establish a login.gov, or is that just for people that have out of date?
No, if your stuff is valid or whatever, you're going to go right through the system and it's going to accept it all.
Okay.
But if at the end it comes back to you and says, we got a problem, this is what we need, or it wasn't a clear picture, or whatever that they give you, sometimes they'll allow you to resubmit. But if they go up, not valid, you checked the dates when you filled in the information on your driver's license and it expired 2 months ago, it's going to catch you at the end. That's when you're going to go to the post office.
That's okay. We're going to the post office because we are what? Keep pushing.
That's right.
We're team keep pushing.
So they're down to just the two systems. They both meet federal crypto standards as far as encrypting your ID and all this other information. So it's secure. It's safe. I don't put my oldest child against that, only in that the federal government systems are hacked sometimes. But it's the safest way to do it right now. Okay. And like I said, you may get access to other things. USA Jobs is a good one. You can click that you got one of those two IDs. USA Jobs accepts your stuff for clearance information and stuff. So that's a good.
I have a login.gov account myself, and I used it to access the SAM website, which is System for Award Management. So for those people that are looking for opportunities to do business with the government, you have to have it. And so it definitely, once you get to the other side and you have it set up and you hold on to your password, you will be in good shape.
True. Once you get started on the process, you have to have the basic information: your full name, your date of birth, your personal email address, your cell phone number, because they're going to want double authentication, where you try to log in and it sends a 6-digit code to your phone and then you got to put the code in, or a personal email where they can send you a code and then you can put that in. So that it's a double authentication process. So on the login.gov, your passcode has to be 12 digits. That's a bit long.
Yeah.
On ID.me, it's only 8. But once you use either one of those to get to set up your VA.gov, you can set up facial recognition. Or you can set up passkey. And when you go to get into VA, you don't have to go in through login.gov. You don't have to go through ID.me. you just go straight to VA.
Hmm.
So keep those passwords or whatever, on a list somewhere at home that you can get to later if you need to go back in, if you want to, do anything inside the system, like change your address or things like that. But you have a process with all the basic information. And then once you get set up, if you have problems doing that, you have your backup. You can go to the Postal Service, or they will also give you the option of mailing in documents. You need to go and renew your driver's license or whatever, and now you can go ahead and finish that and send them a picture. Or in the case of login.gov, a lot of the major VAMCs can do that verification. And now, I know it sounds weird, but even then, you need to take in your Social Security number, either the card itself or that DD-214 or that mortgage paperwork showing your Social Security number, things like that. Utility bill that shows that you live at the address you live at, even though you're already in VA healthcare and everything, you still need to take that in separately because they have to scan it in. They have to verify it and do what they need to do. So you got a lot more stuff to take to the post office or the UPS or the VAMC. But like I said, once you're through the pain, that part of it's done. And after that, it's just VA.gov and much simpler. The only difference is there's an ID card you can get for a passport card. And then there's the actual folding passport. The card doesn't work for an identification. You have to take the actual federally issued passport, the multi-page passport. So if you're using that for your identification document. And yes, you can Google them. You can look up toll-free numbers. You can go to the login.gov website and hit the chat, help center button. Do a chat if you have questions. They have online agents during the day, but I've got a feeling they're pretty short-staffed too. So try to avoid that at least now, in this current environment.
That's okay. That's okay. We are, we know what we have to do. We know why we have to do it, because the VA.gov system is going to give us some access to different things in our veterans' lives, and we want those things to keep moving, especially right now. And I guess this is where I'll give the same spiel I give every month after month after month, right? It is so important for veterans to pursue their benefits, for your care, for your well-being, for your family, and for your community. You may not really be thinking too much about your community, and you might say to yourself, I'm good. I don't really need VA benefits. I'm taking care of my situation myself, or I have private care insurance or anything like that. And whatever reason you talk yourself out of pursuing benefits, those dollars that would have come through you are no longer available to the folks in your community. So the local VA people that need money passing through there, local places where you spend money with, spend your benefits, they need money passing through there. If you do, pursue a loan, the bank needs, that guarantee passing through that bank. If you do start a business, your employees need your business to be viable. So you've already done so much for civilians, and we still need you to keep doing what you do. And on that list is top of mind right now is get your benefits. In the middle of where we are right now, the fact that she said she went to the regional office and it was full of cars. There's stuff was still going on in there.
Yep.
That is such good news. I mean, that is
Yeah.
such good news for you guys, for the veterans, for your families, but for that community, right? That is such good news. If anyone out there has any questions for Miss Jane before this episode comes to an end, we've got a little less than 5 minutes. Please, please, please send your questions now. For those that are still here, I'm so glad that you tuned in today. For those that invited friends, yeah. Yeah, you guys are my homies. Um, Miss Jane, do you have anything else that you want to add for the people?
Make your life easy. Get your VA.gov set up. Get your notifications, appointment reminders, the ability to submit your travel pay, the ability to get government sites for things like small business loans and whatnot like that, so that you're doing best thing for yourself. But also, unfortunately, in these economic times, our agencies are going to find less and less staffing. So try and make it easier on them too. If you can
Yeah.
look up the information online, great. If you know a veteran that may be elderly or maybe one of our young guys with TBI and or homeless, help them
Hey, come
find the
on.
information they need, because there's too many out there. There are billions and billions of dollars. There are millions of veterans and millions of widows out there that the VA knows would be eligible if they applied, but they're not going to reach out. They're not going to go on national television. They're not going to go on national radio and say, hey, come see us, come apply for these benefits.
Girl, that's just because they haven't heard about our show.
But that's where we come in. That's where the family takes care of its own. Reach
Yes.
out to that cousin that just got home from service, or reach out to that great uncle that just lost his spouse, and you know he served in Korea or World War II or Vietnam or something like that, and say, look, I realize that this economic upheaval may have you living below poverty right now because you're paying this huge funeral bill. Maybe you qualify for some pension funds, or, oh, you repaired jet engines in the service and now you're repeating yourself all the time, or you're going, what'd you say?
And,
Guess
and
what? That might be a service related damage.
right, and if we have it in our hearts to be a blessing to others, right?
Oh yeah.
In the midst of being a blessing to others, you really get a chance to be a blessing to others, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if you're nervous or you don't think you can, be that much help, um, this is where I'm going to say go to Jane's LinkedIn account and send her a note. Send her a note. Connect with her on LinkedIn. Ask her for some assistance, because the more of you that place a demand on the system for your benefits, the better it is for a whole lot of people.
I do
Um,
virtual classes too for groups. I just did one last week for one of the nonprofits that they were they were fairly familiar with compensation, but they didn't know anything about the War Veterans Pension Program.
mm,
And they
mm.
they deal with severely wounded, so yes, they're very comfortable, I should say, with compensation. But they didn't realize that there was this War Veterans Pension Program. So we had a class, and afterwards I said, okay, look, I just dumped a whole bunch of information on you. I gave you my training tools. I gave you an article that describes who and when and things like that for eligibility. And I gave you a spreadsheet where you can plug the numbers in and then look at the chart and say, oh, this much income, this much medical expenses coming out, this is what they're living on, and that meets the requirements for pension. I said, but you're not going to retain this stuff. You're going to just kind of put it in a little box in the back of your head. I said, but when you run into that little old veteran shuffling into church who just lost a spouse, and maybe, his cuffs on his sleeves are a little tattered. Maybe he has some stains on his shirt because he's not real good at doing laundry. That might be the time to come up and say, hey, Padre, talk to him because I think he's qualified for this VA benefit. He might not be comfortable enough to talk to you about his financial position, but I'll bet you he'll talk to that priest or minister.
Ooh, that's a good word right there.
Yep. So share what you know with as many as you can. It is the theory of exponential growth. If I give 2 people a penny and they each give 2 people a penny, now we got 4 pennies, and then they each give it to, now we've got 8 pennies out there. It just grows and grows and grows.
That's right. And then when the people start spending the pennies and then they spend the pennies again, right? I heard you talking about travel pay, and I was just thinking, travel pay can't be like a whole lot of dollars, but those dollars are going to go into somebody's gas station in somebody's neighborhood, and then the person that's running the gas station is going to use those dollars to pay some payroll. And then the employee that got it in payroll is going to use it to buy some groceries, and it's just going to keep flipping over in the neighborhood, right?
Yep.
So then those few dollars that feel like it's not so much is actually working real hard for us, right?
Yep.
It's
Exactly.
some hard working money, and we like some hard working pennies. Well, we've come to the end of our show. We've been at it an hour. Can you believe it's already an hour, Jane?
Yeah. Only in that we shared so much information.
Well,
What could be a very simple process if you just know the process.
okay, for everybody on the show, we are convinced that you are working the system. We like to believe that you've been with us all year because it's already October, right? We hope that you have connected with your VSO. We hope that you've connected your family to your VSO, that if you needed insight, that you reached out to Jane, and that you are going to set up your VA.gov account because we have to push the process. Thank you guys for your time. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sharing the news, and we hope to see you next month. I'm Tracy, and this is Jane, and we say bye. See you next time.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Oh, yeah, Matt. Bye.
Bye-bye.
You see him? He's just as dead as we are. Now you listen to me, youngster. Someday you're gonna wake up fighting on a beachhead. You pray to God some guy doesn't get killed because of your foolishness. You join the Marine Corps, Owens. We don't deal in pity and sympathy.
I try.
Try. We don't try in this Marine Corps. We either do or we don't. We don't straddle any fences. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Every time you make one of these little mistakes of yours, you're gonna turn around and I'll be standing right there.
Need any money or anything, Man, I got over like a fat rat when I got out, man. I got my school money coming from the government once a month. I got my veterans check coming once a month. I got my 50% medical check coming to me for the rest of my life.